path to citizenship when you break the law. But maybe what we can do is consider, if you did come here illegally, you pay a fine for breaking our laws, you learn English, you go to work, you pay taxes. If you ever break the law in this country while you're here under that status, you're out.
I think it's fine. I have never supported amnesty, and I do not support the path to citizenship. I think the most important thing we have to understand, if you go to the United States Border Patrol website, you can see a category there called OTMs. OTM stands for Other Than Mexicans. These are individuals of Middle Eastern descent and also Somalis that Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah are working with the Mexican drug cartels in front of funnel into our country. That's why illegal immigration is not just about a citizenship issue. It really is about the security of the United States of America. Because in this 21st century battlefield we have right now, you cannot have an unsecure border. And all you have to do is go back and study history and study what the Romans did in not securing their northern border and see what happened to their country and their empire. So no, I think the most important thing is attrition by enforcement, making E-Verify mandatory, strengthening our border patrol, have better cooperation with the Department of Defense. And let me tell you something, sending 1,200 troops down to the border is really not going to do it. Because when you do battlefield calculus, you're only really sending 600 troops unless those 1,200 want to stay up for 24 hours a day. And further battlefield calculus will tell you that every soldier that's out there patrolling and fighting, it takes 2 to 3 logistical soldiers to support it. So we've got to make sure we have the right amount down.
I'm a little confused by your response. First, you said maybe we will move toward a path to citizenship, and the second is I don't support a path to citizenship. So maybe you can clarify that at some point. The rest of this is very simple. We need to have clear laws. We need to take up these laws very consistently and pragmatically. I still didn't hear the answer of what do you do with 12 million people that are here. But I think I made my point very clear.
Same question.
Since the Don't Ask, Don't Tell ban on gays and lesbians serving openly in the military went into effect, some 13,000 service members have been discharged for violating the policy. More than 300 in special linguistics training, and that includes 60 critically needed Arabic speakers. Given the numbers, shouldn't Don't Ask, Don't Tell be repealed to improve national security?
Yes, it should. But under certain circumstances. I voted already this past year in the House of Representatives, the Senate hasn't taken it up yet, to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell upon completion and conditioned upon the military's completion of its study as to whether it affects the military readiness of our country. I will not support anything that affects the military readiness of this country. But Admiral Bowen, who's the head of our Joint Chiefs of Staff, has said he supports this because he believes that it will not affect the military readiness of our country. Obviously, a lot of other countries around the world have already been down this path, but this is about other countries. This is about the United States military. And I think for the reasons you just said, Tony, about the fact that there are a lot of qualified people, it shouldn't be about their personal lives. There are obviously rules in place if they're heterosexual in the military and you do something that violates the code of conduct, you're punished for that. No different for people who have GLBT kinds of backgrounds. But the bottom line is we need qualified people who are willing to serve our country in the military, and so long as it doesn't affect military readiness, this policy needs to be repealed.
I would leave Don't Ask, Don't Tell in place. Of course, one of the things, having been a commander at the company level and also been a commander at the battalion level and also having members of the military I can still call upon to talk to, including my nephew, I get the understanding from at the ground level what they feel is the biggest issues and all of that. The most important thing we must understand, the United States military, their primary mission is not about accommodating sexual behavior. And I can tell you that it's not just gay, that it's heterosexual, what have you. The United States Code of Military Justice is different from civilian law. There were times in the military where I could put someone out because they couldn't run fast enough. They couldn't do enough push-ups. I could fine people and take money away from them because they didn't have the right to comprehensive. When you join the United States military, it's a privilege to serve in uniform, and you're serving to protect the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of the American people. That means that you have to sacrifice some things that are your own personal will and desires. And that is what I see happening here. And it's a slippery slope. If we start to get to a point where we are accommodating special interests and accommodating individuals, we must stay focused on one simple thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we're losing in Afghanistan. The most important thing that we should be talking about in this country is the fact that we've been in Afghanistan for 9 years and we're still fighting major combat operations. The most important thing we should be talking about as far as our military is that in the last 2 years, we have seen the highest amount of deaths in that combat field of operation than the previous 7 years. That's what we need to be discussing. We need to be discussing about the rules of engagement that do not allow our soldiers to have the initiative against this enemy. People in the military are not concerned about who they're sleeping with. People in the military are concerned about victory on the battlefield.
Could you address the Arabic speakers and the other people with important linguistic skills? That's not that important.
Well, when I was a commander, I never had a problem giving linguistic speakers for them.
First of all, I don't think that people who want to serve in our military voluntarily in our military system are special interests. People who are willing to serve our country, I thank them for their service, just like I thank Mr. West for his service to our country. But the reality is there are qualified people in the form of people, and it's very well documented that the number of people, particularly in Arabic, are running short order in getting these people in, and the number of them have been released because they have a background that is considered by Mr. West or others as special interest. I think that's a bad policy. And as long as our military readiness is not affected, I welcome people who are willing to serve our country, thank them for their service to our country, and encourage them to serve our country.
And I thank everyone that raises their right hand to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and bear true faith and allegiance to the same. But understand when you raise your hand to do that, you sacrifice some of the freedoms you have as a regular American civilian. We in the military have a different profit margin. Our profit margin is in lives. And I think the most important thing we need to understand is those are the goals and objectives we have to be looking upon. When I talk about special interest groups, I'm talking about the special interest groups from outside that are putting pressure on the military. That is what I mean. Most people that I knew that were gay and lesbian in the military wanted one simple thing: to serve their country, to be a part of an organization that is the greatest organization that the world has ever known. And that's our United States Military Fighting Force. And we need to make sure that we do not have the outside political influences that tears that military apart for their own agenda.
Creating public policy is an important job as a congressman, but so is constituency service. I have an individual question for each of you on that regard. Mr. West, given your views on earmarks and government spending, if the city manager of Boca Raton needed $10 million in federal funds to restore the beaches, could he depend on you as an ally? And for Mr. Klein, I talked with some of your detractors who often ask me, what have you done? So maybe you can come up with a comparable example that shows that you've done something in your constituency.
These endorsement is part of our economy. It's part of the improvements we have. So you're absolutely right. I would support that because that's an economic issue. And it's something that also promotes the general welfare of the American people to come down here and enjoy our beaches. So I don't see beach endorsement as a pork barrel earmark type of thing. Now, if you all of a sudden, Doug, wanted me to build the Allen West Memorial Library or the Allen West Memorial Bridge, I don't think
No one's going to do that.
expensive. But I think that we should look at, as the Constitution says, to promote the general welfare of all. I think that is so important. We bring up a great issue. We have got to get policy and legislation back to where it stands alone. We can no longer have these bills that have all of these Christmas tree attachments to it. I'll give you a great example. Hate crimes legislation attached to the Defense Appropriations Bill. The fact that all of a sudden in the healthcare law, we had an amendment attached to it that said that the federal government will take over all college education loans. Those are things that are totally divergent, and we have to get away from that. So I think that we need to have policy and legislation that is in concert with the constitutional principles of the United States of America, and also looks out for the welfare of our constituents. And that is the promise that I will take. And I think the most important thing to understand is that I will go up there to be the representative, understanding that the people who best know how to spend their taxpayer dollars are the people here. But something such as beach endorsement, that benefits all of them. Mr. Klein.
Well, this whole spending issue is on the island holder. So it's easy for Mr. West to say, oh yeah, beaches are very important. And guess why the rest of the country doesn't go along with that? Because it's something local to Boca Raton. Now we here in Boca Raton know that it's an important part of our economy. Boca Raton Resort and Club, and many of you who live on the ocean side, understand the importance of having good quality beaches and fresh water and fishing and all the businesses that go along with it in a good environment. So the notion of why beach nourishment doesn't come up in the general appropriations is for that reason. Nobody else seems to get the benefit of it. So it's easy to say, oh, I support it, but at the same time,